Hi, I'm Karen Zukis from the New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium, and welcome to our new podcast called Articulate. The New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium is located at Kilburn Mill in Studio 260 on the second floor. I'm here today with my guest, Danya Bischel. Hi, Danya.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Today we're going to talk about art and all things art and culture. So, if you would, if you wouldn't mind, we'll start with our first question right away. So, Danya,
Yes.
how did you end up in this room today?
Well, I met Karen at Harbor Days, Mattapoisett, when I was selling my art, and she wondered if I would teach a class at the New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium. So for a year or so now, I've taught a couple classes at the New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium, and Karen invited me onto this first episode of her new podcast. So that's what brought me here.
And was that class, what was that class?
I teach pet portraiture and relief block print making or
Yes,
line up
you
cut.
do.
Yes,
That's right. And both of them are wonderful classes that
lots of fun.
people return to, and it is a lot of fun. And we have some of your work behind us. Did you want to talk about anything?
We do. These are just a few pieces. I think they do a pretty good job of summarizing my work. They're all done in acrylic, these ones here. This is not an example of what most of my pet portraits look like, but this is one that I have made for me personally. We've got a still life here and just kind of a abstract impressionist kind of thing. These are all in my house, so these are just I do different pieces, but these are kind of what my personal style is for my own home. Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Thank
So,
you.
which do you think is more your style, the realistic one, or so these are like three,
Yeah, they're pretty
distinct,
different.
wonderful
I would say I do mostly realistic type things. But I'm kind
representation.
of representational. But I'm kind of moving out, I would say, towards the more abstract. Um, not for everything, but I've just kind of been like experimenting with that
Good for
lately.
you. Do you notice that depending on the subject matter, you change your style? I do that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah,
And
with nature and landscapes, it's definitely more. It's a lot looser, and with which I think would probably be said for a lot of people, but with still lifes or pet portraits or people portraits, it's definitely more refined, more realistic looking.
yeah. And how about when you do different medium, like, paint versus pastel versus printing, do you change your style again, do you think? Or
Um, I would say so. Oil paint, I would say, is pretty similar to how I use acrylic. Um, it does obviously tons of different things, but I would say the style is the same for me, maybe a little bit more on the looser side. Watercolor is for sure the medium I go to when I want a very detailed and intricate level of, designing, drawing. So,
that's awesome. Nice. So tell me, darling, do you work as a full time as an artist now, or?
I do not. I work at a school, and then I do art part time, and I've done that for quite a few years now. The part time art. So
Do you work at art at the school? Is that your?
I don't teach art. I work in a special ed classroom.
Do you want to teach art? Do you think?
I would like to. I've done some long term sub positions as an art teacher. It's definitely a lot different than any other teaching position, but especially special ed. I really enjoy them both. I could see myself doing both in the future, one or the other. So
Oh,
yeah,
so like teach art to special needs folks? Is that
not the same, like one or the other. I
okay?
mean, maybe if they're combined.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that sounds nice. And so, what did you study, and where did you go to school?
I went to UMass Amherst, and I have a degree in um, art education. So I have a degree in teaching art to secondary, so 5th grade through 12th grade. And I have a minor in art history. So I also really love history and especially art history.
Contemporary art history or
Uh,
ancient art history? What sort of aspect? All of art
I've
history?
kind of learned all of it, but I love ancient. Well, I would say my favorite time period for art is medieval art. I like medieval anywhere in the world, really,
You
especially
mean like
European.
handwritten books
Yeah,
and
like
things? Manuscripts?
illuminated manuscripts.
Oh
I
my
love
God,
that. Yeah.
that's hilarious. So did you I took a whole class on the Book of Kells one time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was like I had to chew gum to stay awake. I
Yeah,
mean, I just
yeah,
for me, that's how it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
But I'm really glad that it interests you
Oh,
because
yeah.
I think a lot of things that interest me would put other people to
Right.
sleep.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
well, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Um, have you ever tried doing, like the type of art, the type of
Uh, I do love it's I don't know what it's really called. I call it's like faux calligraphy. It's kind of like the kind of a trendy art form. But I have used actual like fountain pens. I would love to get more into like the writing of the manuscripts, but um, I've not. I just started a sketch. That's funny you say that. I just started a sketch of a illuminated manuscript drawing that doesn't have the words. I was like feeling inspired by the borders and like the animals that they use. It's funny. So I just started working on one just for fun. But I
That's
haven't
pretty
really done
cool.
that.
I think
Yeah.
it's great. And do you work on like a vellum or like a hide? What are those goat hide paper called? I forgot.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what
I
they
have not
used
worked
in
on
the
that.
in
Yeah.
the in the in the actual manuscripts. They
Yeah.
used like a goat hide, I
Yeah.
think.
That's
But
that's crazy.
I forgot what they're called.
Hmm.
But that would be fun, like the
Yeah.
real deal.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'd love to see something cool like that,
Hmm.
modernized, like
Right.
tell a story through an
Yeah.
illuminated manuscript. That would be
Yeah. That would
really
be really
cool.
cool.
Yeah. So, where did you go to school?
UMass Amherst.
UMass
Mhm.
Amherst. That's a good school, isn't
It
it?
is a great school. They have a great art program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah. I
And what
loved
was
it
your
there.
major there again?
Art education.
Art education, but
Mhm.
you did a lot of hands-on art there.
Yeah. The major was mostly not mostly, but it was a big portion of it was studio art major, and then I had did, like, an education major kind of on the side,
Mm-hmm.
so,
I get it. Yeah, that sounds great. So, do you think you want a graduate degree or?
I would like to at some point. I haven't decided if I wanna go down the, uh, psychology route or the art route. I have thought about doing them together as art therapy, um, but it's not really on my radar right now, but I would definitely like to do one of those in the future.
Yeah, it's probably good. It's probably not. It would be great to combine, a couple of passions like
Yeah.
that together. I understand. So what inspires you, like, to do art? Like, is it money that inspires you, or creating for the sake of creating, or healing, or um, what do you think inspires you?
Um, well, it kind of depends. I do a good amount of commissions, so in that sense, obviously part of it that inspires me is the money. But also, um, so I am always creating commissions, and I create on my own as a way of, I would say, healing, or just when I ever get the urge to create, which I think that's always the best because then it's really something that's low stakes and that I'm just doing for myself. And I'm inspired by, I would say a lot of my art is inspired by the beauty and everyday things, which I think probably a lot of people could say that about their art. That's kind of what art is finding ways to make things, seen in a different light. Um, but so I'm inspired by a lot of things. I'm inspired by um, the images that I'm recreating for clients. I'm inspired by things I take pictures of, things people tell me about, things I feel, interactions I have. So just a lot of everyday things will inspire me to be creative in
That's
some way.
awesome. Do you think everybody's like that, or do you think it's an artistic trait, a
I
trait
don't
of
know.
artists?
I can't imagine not thinking that way, not
Yeah,
seeing creativeness and
right.
normal things.
I understand. I
Mm.
get it. So what's your go-to medium? Do you like painting or printing more or clay or what is it that
Um, Definitely painting, but I think after my getting my degree, I realized that I always just thought like, oh, I'm a painter, but it was because I hadn't really tried other things. So I did a lot of pottery in college and printmaking, and I realized that I do like a lot of the mediums the same. I just don't have as much experience in them all or access to them all. Like I would love to do more. I did a photography class, like a darkroom printing photography class, and I would love to do more of that. But it's I don't really have access to that. But I still would say I'm mostly a painter, and that's what I prefer. Acrylic paint and is like my main
So
medium.
is drawing a part of that? Like, would you say that drawing is a necessity for you in your painting?
Yeah, I mean, there's the drawing that comes before the painting always, but I have not in a long time drawn without then turning that into a painting.
Mhm.
So it's, super important. It's the foundation of every painting that I make, but I usually don't leave it as just a drawing. So
I get it. I think I get it. But something like this, would you draw? Oops, I got it. Sorry.
that I did not draw first. That was just what I was feeling. It was just,
Spontaneous
yeah,
burst of
yeah.
everything. All right, excellent. I love it. So, what would an ideal day be like for you?
Oh, like an art day or any day?
Any day. Like if you didn't have to go to work and, you could do whatever you wanted with any day, every day.
Well, there would certainly be reading. I'm a big reader, and there would certainly be art being made. And I'm not just saying that because we're talking about art. I really would, when I mean, there's always art I can be making for myself or for someone else, but especially when I have the time to do it, I feel like that's when my favorite pieces come out because I just have the time to explore whatever I'm feeling in that moment.
Nice. And you like to do everything, right? You do mosaics and
Yes, I do. I
yeah.
love mosaics and clay and printmaking and yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
That's awesome. Very nice. And so, um, this is an annoying question, but where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Um, you know, I would say hopefully doing more art and taking my art more seriously. Because I kind of the older I get, the more I realize that if you neglect something, whether that be a relationship with a friend or a hobby or something, it'll just completely disappear. So I'm trying to put more time and energy into my art, and I think definitely meeting you has helped me so much to look at the possibilities with my art, whether that be selling or teaching or doing. So I would definitely like to be putting more thought into my art and hopefully be selling more. Hopefully find my unique style more. I'd like to kind of develop like a style that I could be recognized for. Um, that's not the biggest goal for me, but I think that would be interesting. It'd be cool. That's something I'm
Yeah,
working towards.
that requires a lot of work,
Hmm.
a lot of time, energy, effort, and
Yeah,
let
experience.
me just check the time. Okay, so so how did you end up at New Bedford Arts and Cultural? I met
Mhm.
you. You were doing pet portraits, and I loved them, and I thought they were so cute.
Mhm.
And the thing is, well, they're more than cute. They're actually,
Mhm.
very sweet and very well rendered.
Mhm.
Um, and then you were like, "Well, I don't have time." And then you called me like out
Yeah.
of nowhere 6 months later or something and said,
Yeah.
"I have time now." And I was like, "What a cool kid!" I really like this kid. So, um, and then I found out you teach. You do block printing,
Mhm.
which is what we had a need for. And I wonder what the next thing will be. So
Right.
cyanotypes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
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 So I'm glad to hear that we are helping you to be inspired because that's what we want to do is we
Mhm.
want to get people to where they take themselves seriously as artists and not just compete with the folks around them in the
Right.
area or outside the area, but to really just do the thing, just do it and be empowered to do it,
Right.
encouraged and inspired to do it. So I'm glad to hear that you are thinking about it more.
Mhm.
It's good. And so um, tell me, what do you think New Bedford Arts and Cultural is in your from your perspective? Like What is it? What are we there? What do we do? What are we doing there? Why are we there? Why do we spend all that money for rent every month at the Kilburn Mill?
Um, I it's obviously a place for people to learn and have new creative experiences and meet people who are interested in things like that. But I also think it's such an amazing, like, no matter what you're learning or doing there, it's such an amazing way to just connect with other people and understand that there's, especially in the art world, there's so many opportunities for you. There's so many paths you could go down, and there's so many people to meet, so many connections to be made. So I feel like every time I go there and I meet people, whether or not we're talking about art, it's just a great place to, I don't know, experience more.
Yeah, you kind of feel like a real artist when you're
Yeah,
there,
right.
because you're open. The thing that I'm hoping for also with the New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium is to, which we should really shorten that name. I like to try. I want people to get used to calling it NBACE
Yeah,
or ACE or something
yeah.
because so it's like I'll never read Arts and Cultural Emporium. But um, is we offer everything. We offer the materials that, so you don't have to buy your own materials. You can try and experiment 100 different things without having to buy your own materials.
Yeah.
And I try to keep the cost down, and
Right.
and so that's what I like about it is that people can come in and they say, "Wow, now I'll go home and I'll buy this stuff." But I didn't want to get it on my own because I
Right.
didn't know if I'd like it or not. So I'm really glad about that they can come and sort of experiment with the stuff and take it or leave it.
Right.
So
Is that one of the reasons you started the
um,
NBAs?
I think it's probably in there as one of the reasons. I think we started it to have a play. There wasn't really anything. I actually started it during the pandemic, and I had just moved here. I haven't lived here forever, so just a dozen years now. This is the 12th year I lived here, but there didn't seem to be a place that people were free to come to and make art. And I thought, well, there's a need for it, and um, so I started during the pandemic, and so it was a little slow at first, but people wanted to come. They'd
Yeah.
come, they'd wear their masks, and
Right.
we'd sit sort of far apart from each other, and
Yeah.
we'd make stuff, and so it's been sort of growing ever since. But yeah, and enabling people to do this stuff because it's the materials are a lot
Yeah,
depending on what you want to do.
definitely. And if you don't know how to use those materials, it can be
Yeah,
very confusing.
right. And they go in a bag in the closet, and you
Right,
never see them
right.
again. You give them at a yard sale. You give
Right.
them away practically like
Yeah.
something you spent $150
Yeah.
on or something. Yeah,
Right.
I had someone tell me that today.
Mm.
We had a collage class, and she said, I bought this camera, like this multi-$100 camera, and during the pandemic, and then I never used it, and so she
Yeah.
said, I'm going to take it out now,
Yeah.
which was
Oh,
really
good.
nice
That's
that
cool.
she,
Yeah.
yeah, just doing stuff, whatever you do, as long as you're doing it, it empowers you to do the next thing,
Right.
So
Right.
especially if you're an artist and
Mhm.
you just are born, you wake up every day wanting to make
Yeah.
stuff, or
Yeah.
to see what this does, or
Right.
so it's pretty cool.
Doesn't take much to inspire a new idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and when we were in art school, they would make us do things like, they'd throw a box of Q-tips on the table and they'd say,
Mhm.
"All right, now you're gonna make a self-portrait or something,"
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's
you'd have
cool.
maybe 3 things you could make stuff out of,
Mm.
and that I love that, having to be resourceful.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, um, how are we doing for time? Sorry. You have, like, 11 minutes? Okay. So, uh, anything you wanna talk about? Any questions you have or any
I when you were just talking, I was wondering why you chose Emporium. I love the word.
Uh,
Was it just
yeah, I wanted to, um, well, first of all, have sort of call letters like ACE,
Mm.
so that people could shorten it. I haven't shortened it yet though. So,
Yeah.
mostly it was that well, I was a practicing Orthodox Christian for many years. And so there's a lot of Greek and Russian influence. And, and someone asked me recently, not recently, but when they were interviewing me, they're like, an emporium is a store, it's like a place where people would go, like a shop or something. And I said, well, that was the first meaning of it, but emporium actually means a place of learning, a place of discussion, and a place of culture.
That's cool.
And so that's why I chose emporium. Yeah,
I like it.
thanks.
um,
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oops.
What would you say is something that you've learned from either the experience of building this Emporium or like your experience, something you've learned from the experience of working with all these different creative people?
Yeah. I have learned that everything morphs
Mm.
over time. Like my intentions are, if your intentions are always good, then I think whatever transpires along the way is going to be good. It's going to be helpful or joyful or something good. So I think as things have morphed, more good things have come out of it. And also I've learned to, let's see, I'm going to just admit this ugly little fact, but I sort of had an elitist attitude about art, like where I studied and what I studied and where I lived for so many years in Boston, and going to a major university there and studying and being up against people who are kind of world class made me kind of snobbish about everything. And so moving here, I realized, that was so futile. It was so futile to think that way, to act that way, to be that way. And it wasn't helping anything. It was just making me more, feel more and more kind of elitist and separate from everything and everybody. And so the biggest thing I learned, I think, was to just relax and to make the stuff and to, yes, I want quality work and I want people to learn the best information they can about art and the best way to approach it and the best, but to not have that be the goal, to just have the goal be to enjoy yourself and to share what knowledge and whatever it is. So I think those are the things I've learned the most, and the hundreds of different skills I've learned from the things we teach there. I mean, I had no, having gone to the museum school, honestly, and to Tufts University, it made me very like they. You couldn't admit that you knew how to knit, for example, because you were selling out as an artist. You weren't really an artist. You were just a craftsperson.
Right.
And so I had that sort of stigma. And it wasn't until I moved here really and saw like a smaller view of art, and that art is just for the people. It's just every human being expressing themselves. And, you're not in competition to get your stuff into a gallery in New York City or Boston or anywhere, I mean, that's a good goal, but it shouldn't be your goal for making art. Your goal for making art should be just make the stuff, not to, say, oh, I've got my stuff on Newbury Street or I've got me,
Yeah.
So, so that was helpful to sort of just relax, step back, and
that's great.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Thanks. I feel like you have to keep an open mind. You can't. I mean, sometimes the more open your mind, you think your mind is, the more closed it is. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions or anything you'd like to add, or?
I will add that my website, it's really just a kind of a portfolio if anyone is interested in viewing my work. And then there's details there you can look through my commissions from the past. And if you're interested, I do pet portraits and house portraits and other customs. But if you wanted to check that out, it's just a Google Sites. But if you go through this link, the sites.google.com/view/Danya B Designs, that's where you will find that. Just wanted to add that.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to definitely look that up.
Cool.
And I think I've been there. I think I stalked you once. I don't know how I found you, but I
That's
went to
good.
your site.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is our website for New Bedford Arts and Cultural Emporium. And you can go there and see all that we have to offer. Lots and lots of things all the time. March schedule's coming up soon, so that'll be up on the website pretty soon. Right now it's still February. And I mean, I have them all together, but okay. So I think we're about to wrap it up. Are we? Is it about time? We have a little more time.
Do you have ending thoughts for us?
Ending thoughts. I'm just full of them. Lots of them. Not full of it. I'm full of them. Full of thoughts.
What about the future for this podcast? What do you see for it?
Oh, I just want to interview everybody now. Yeah, so I'd love to have you back again
Yeah,
sometime if you'd like to
course,
come.
of course.
Yeah, and I'll pick up with some of our other teachers and the Downey's my favorite.
Don't
So
tell them.
no, don't tell anybody. So I will pick up with some of our other teachers and our other participants at New Bedford Arts and Culture. We have some regular students who come all the time. We're so grateful for them. They're lifelong learners and they're cultural sponges, and they just love everything we offer, and we love that they come and support us. And so yeah, there's always some new thing. We have basket weaving that's coming up, which is fun, and among the other hundreds of things we offer. Um, so yes, please join us, and thank you, Danya. We very much appreciate your sharing with us
Thank you
and
so much for having me.
opening up. Yeah,
This was great.
yeah, we'd love to continue. So please come back. I think next week next month we'll probably do this again, and we'll see who will join us. And thank you for watching and
Listening.
yes, and tolerating our nervousness. So thank you again. And my husband's going to write us a piece of music for the next time. So thank you. My husband teaches piano lessons with us if you're interested. Just so you know. Thank you. And have a good night.